Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So I do want to shift gears a little bit here because you're currently doing a production of another play that kind of taps into the same into the same themes as the Crucible, and that's Cabaret.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about Cabaret and what you're currently doing with that at the moment?
Yeah. So Cabaret is going to be the final show of the Old Courthouse Theater's 24-25 season. It's going to run May 1st through the 11th. Cabaret is to me just much like the Crucible is a masterpiece. To me, Cabaret is one of the masterpieces of musical theater. I've seen from high school productions to Broadway productions, and I've never not been moved by the show because it's that powerful in its message. And so it's one that if you haven't seen, everyone needs to see that as well. You can come see the Crucible, absolutely. But Cabaret, if you haven't seen the production of Cabaret before, or if you've only seen the movie of Cabaret, because the movie is brilliant, the movie is great, but it's not. But to me, the show is even more powerful than the film version.
Now, in terms of now with Cabaret, unlike the Crucible, you're not really involved creatively. You're just performing.
No, I am actually just an actor on the stage. So I am not involved in any of the the design or creative process. So it's actually my first main stage OCT production in about 22 years. So it's my so I'm making my return to the stage there, but it's in a show that's very close to my heart. So for those who don't know, Cabaret takes place in the waning years of the Weimar Republic in Germany, which was a time of two things, very much artistic expression. And, if you kind of think about the Roaring 20s in the US, kind of put that into Germany. But just, artists, very, very, a very, very, very creative period, but also very, very poor period because Germany was still suffering from essentially being blamed for World War I and all the repercussions, the land they lost at the end of that, and then all the reparations and money they lost. So they were in a very big depression at the time. But it takes place in one of these little sleazy clubs in Berlin, with and it kind of revolves around the characters in there. And of course, then you have obviously the person who the audience follows the show through is an American named Cliff, who's into Germany to research and write a novel, who takes up residence at a boarding house near the club, hangs out at the club, and then ends up having a relationship with the club's kind of star singer, Sally Bowles. And, and Sally is sort of, kind of the embodiment of that person who is all about the indulgences of life, performing and sex and drugs and everything, and has no interest at all in politics, because that's politics. I don't care what's happening because that doesn't affect me. And it's just this carefree attitude. But at the same, so while all this is going on, it just kind of shows how the Nazis were able to come into this and gradually, take power. Because that's the whole thing. It's like, well, how we saw this group, how did they get in? How did they come to power? How did this? And so it's kind of this lesson about you being passive, not paying attention to what's going on until it's too late. If it's not about me, it doesn't concern me. Kind of mentality, because they're just worried about the Jews. I'm not a Jew, so this doesn't affect me, and then it's too late. So it's a very and then the club itself is a metaphor for the people of Germany. It starts off very much no rules, debauchery, everything goes, and then as you watch the show and the MC, it changes and changes and changes. And then you see at the end how it's, basically now mirrors, the prevailing, the Nazi ideals in Germany, with, kind of culminates in the "If You Could See Her Through My Eyes" song, where he's, dancing with the person in the monkey suit. And the joke at the end is, "Oh, she doesn't look Jewish to me," and the audience laughs, where that should be something that they should be horrified by, but they all laugh at the joke because they have been turned against these Jews who've lived in, who are German born, who fought for Germany in World War I, but now they're the enemy and now they're not German.
And I was going to say, it kind of ties into what we were talking about earlier with the Crucible about the idea of having the audience being part of the accusers.
Yes.
It's this idea of, everybody in the audience is kind of like the German population. They're just in it for the good time, as a way to kind of escape the misery of reparations and poverty.
Mm-hmm.
And without realizing it, all of a sudden we have this guy here who's saying, I'm going to come and save this country.
Yeah.
I'll do whatever I can, whatever it takes to protect you guys.
Yeah.
And then you have this. So as someone who's usually very much involved in the creative side, how did it feel to kind of be a part of production where really you only had just one role? Like, what was that like exactly?
I mean, it's a two-sided coin. For one, I enjoy it because I don't have to make any of those decisions, and I can just go and just worry about my lines and my song and things like that. But there's always a party that sits there, and you're like, would I have done it this way? Could we, and you have to, So look,
I just have this image of you sidling up to the director and being like, "Hey, I got a few notes here."
Yeah. The good thing is, as I mentioned, the director who's directing Cabaret is also directing The Crucible. So someone I've been working with for 30 years. So I think if there was someone I could go up to and say, "Hey, I have some ideas," she probably wouldn't murder me. So, but I try, unless I have some really strong conviction about something, I will keep my mouth shut. But I'm really impressed, and the production is going really well. It's extremely, extremely talented cast, and so I'm really excited to see how the show turns out. And and of course for me, I'm playing the villain. I'm playing the Nazi in the show. So so that's tough, because obviously that is the antithesis of my true beliefs, but it's important. So I'm kind of feeding all of my pent up angers and things into this role, and using this as my kind of yelling into the void to get out all the feelings I'm feeling. And so I feel like it's a good in the end, knowing that I'm just a cog in this machine getting out this really, really important message. But yeah, Heather, when I was cast, I was like, well, I said, I'm not super thrilled about being a Nazi. She goes, well, but you're so Aryan. So and I'm like, yeah. I said, unfortunately, yeah, it's not the first time I've had to play a Nazi. So, and probably not the last.
Well, I was going to say, like, I imagine some people kind of see a bit of authoritarian when it comes to art direction. So they're like, oh yeah, I mean, he's definitely an art Nazi. I mean, it's perfect. Yeah. So now you did mention earlier that the role was offered to you. Is that right? Like, you didn't have to audition or anything for this role?
So yeah, it was as with anything, there's a lot of times there's a dearth of men auditioning for things, and
especially if it's Nazis,
Yeah, and I don't know how many people showed up and said, "Oh, I want to play the Nazi," So when she said, "Hey, we didn't really have anyone, we didn't. This role is still open. Would you consider it?" And it's because I really wanted to audition for Cabaret. As I said, it's. I mean, my top three rotates around, but it's always solidly in my top three of musicals of all time. And so it's a show that I really want to audition for, but I was like, well, I just got so much with PMP going on. Whether it's preparing for the Crucible, whether it's we've got our very first ever 24-hour play festival coming up in a couple of weeks. We're doing another gala this year in May. So there's still lots of things going on, and like I just don't know if I can commit to the just the rehearsal period. But then when it was presented to me and it was like, we can kind of work around your PMP schedule, then it was just it was just too much to say no. I mean, I couldn't say no, because it's, as I said, it's a show that I just have dreamed of being a part of for many, many, many years.
Now, just out of curiosity, because you said that Cabaret is one of your favorite musicals out there. Was there a particular role that you were gunning for, or were you just more content about whatever role I can play, I'll play it?
I mean, there's obviously roles you dream about. I mean, I would love to be the MC. I know all the songs, but I mean, I would love to play Cliff. But I mean, I'm not in the great. I'm probably not in the greatest of shape to be playing the MC now, and I'm a little bit too old for Cliff. So, 30 years ago, that would have been my dream. I would have, but but the role of Ernst is one that you kind of felt like, you're looking at the cast like, that's probably the role that's the best suited for me. Whether from appearance, I mean, you got blonde hair and blue eyes, they're going to cast you as a Nazi. And, then as far as age and things like that, I mean, the role fits me. So, I don't sing a lot, but definitely as far as the dramatic core of the show, Ernst is a very, very key character. Because Ernst is because once again the whole show is about the Nazis coming in and how they came in, and then that's kind of a lot of that's embodied in me because I'm pushing that train forward. I'm the one at the engagement party who breaks up the engagement of Frau Schneider and Herr Schultz because Herr Schultz is Jewish, and I warn her that that's not going to be good for her because he's not a German, even though he was born in Germany. And I get to mention, one of the other lines is, our party will be the builders of the new Germany. One night I couldn't remember my line because I had to put my script down and I had to ad lib, and so I think I dropped in our party will make Germany great again. So
right. I mean, hey, there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot going on right now. I mean, whatever you pull from current events will probably sound appropriate in that that musical. So when you got cast for Cabaret, was it like, I mean, how close was it to to rehearsals? Was it like pretty close, or did you kind of have enough time to kind of get prepared? Because the way it sounds like it was almost as if we've got all of our roles cast, but this one role. Chris, would you like to play this character here?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty quick. I mean, it was pretty much that. And then the first read through was that weekend. So I don't exactly remember, I don't exactly remember when it came down, maybe like a Thursday or Friday, and I was at rehearsal on Sunday. So,
oh, wow. Like that quick?
Yeah.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah. Well, because normally it's, you have auditions 1 week and rehearsals. A lot of times we'll start a week later. So
I know, but still, that's like only a few days, man. Like you have to be on your game right there, man.
It is, yeah. I mean, the other positive with the role that I'm playing is that because my character only sings part of one song. I mean, okay. I really have not had to be there very, very much because the first, for those who don't know, when you're rehearsing a musical, generally the chunk of the early rehearsals are music rehearsal and choreography rehearsal. And I really didn't have any of that. So, I've kind of just, really I've only had to be there when they're blocking the scenes that I'm in. So, I kind of came to that reading and then I didn't have to go back for a whole other week. So I've had time to kind of, to get prepared, and, I've got my script with me because I got to make sure I get those lines memorized. And not only do I got to get the lines memorized, I got to get the accent right.
You're doing the accent, okay?
That's
I was going to ask you about that too.
Yeah, so I get to use my German accent, and so, which I not to be to brag, I thought I usually do. I've always had a pretty good one. We did like a good addiction session about it, and I felt pretty good that a lot of what was taught were things I was already doing instinctually, but there are still things I need to work on. So I'm gonna kind of go through and find some of those problem spots where I'm lapsing into American, or lapsing, or sometimes I'll lapse into a British or something, or French. So I need to kind of work on those spots to make sure my vowels are good German vowels.
So what would you say are some of the most important, I guess, lessons or themes from from Cabaret that you feel would transition really nicely into the Crucible?
So, I mean, a lot of it still is just it's very similar. I mean, it's that, once again, that mob, the going along with the mob, and or not thinking critically, or the whole thing is if it doesn't apply to me, it doesn't apply to me. And where I think that's dangerous, or or just kind of living life with blinders on. I think we need to be aware of what's going on, because if we remove ourselves, like, once again, I've been so frustrated, in politics as a whole, I mean, in the country for at least, the last 8 years.
Mhm.
And, so it's easy to just try to escape, and in some ways, doing PMP and these great horror shows has been my escape. I can focus on this, and then I don't have to worry about think about what's going on in the world these days. I can just focus on my own thing, and this can take up all my time, so I don't have time to dwell on what's going on. But that's not necessarily the best way to live. I mean, I think it's, you have to be aware, you have to do your part, you have to, be active and be aware of what's going on. And so I think those two things there are standing up, for your fellow person, whether, you see it you say it in the engagement party in Cabaret, when I call out Herr Schultz, no one then stands up for Herr Schultz. They're silent.
All right.
They stand by and just watch and let it happen. And you can tell that maybe internally they're angry about it, but they don't do anything in the moment. So it just allows that point of view and that persecution to fester and continue. I think those are in both situations. The Salem trials could have been cut off really early if people, just probably did what internally they thought was right. And then, similar, I mean, obviously in Germany, it's on a much larger scale than in one little village, but similar thing, it's, allowing this really almost insignificant party just grow in power, and then and without being questioned, and then essentially, then all of a sudden before you know it, they've taken over, and then start outlawing, and eliminating all competition.
So when's Cabaret going to premiere at Old Courthouse?
Cabaret runs May 1st through the 11th, and then a little over a month later we'll have the Crucible. Which is June 19th to the 29th.
Gosh, so you guys are like so in terms of that time scale, you guys are pretty much just like jumping from one production to another without.
It is literally.
Breath.
Yeah, I mean, literally. I think I have like a Cabaret something in the afternoon of April 13th, and then from there I go right to Crucible auditions. Me and the director, and then there's 2 nights where they're reviewing. Then it's like that, and the next night and the Wednesday night they're reviewing things, but neither of us will be there because we'll be doing Crucible auditions and callbacks.
Now, just out of curiosity, like, and if you don't know, that's fine. Have there been any actors or from Cabaret who have auditioned or have mentioned they are interested in being in the Crucible?
Yeah. I mean, I can look at our sign up list, and there is some overlap. Obviously, if the director and me are doing both, then obviously anyone else, will also make it work for them to do both. And we've got a good way for it. Our schedule is good. Because essentially we're not going to start. Our plan is to kind of audition the Crucible, give them several weeks with their script where they can start, because obviously it's a very wordy show. There's lots of lines. So let's get to your scripts ahead of time so you can already be a little further along when we start, so we can kind of just hit the ground running. And maybe have a little more of an intensive rehearsal period, but like when Cabaret opens on the 1st of May, it'll run through that Sunday. Then you kind of have this break before it goes back up on Thursday. So right. Unless the director decides, hey, there's stuff we need to polish, and we're going to do a brush up rehearsal throughout the week. Those days there we are open for Crucible rehearsal, and then obviously starting the next week when it's closed, we'll move to the stage at that point and have it to the end of June. So. I mean, we'll still have a pretty much a standard rehearsal period for a play. Obviously the Crucible being a bit bigger and a bit wordier and a bit heavier, maybe you'd want a little bit more, but I have all the trust in the world, all the faith that we'll get there.
So, I mean that's going to be quite exciting too, because you've got these two dramatic pieces that pretty much, in spite of their productions, they follow similar themes, like you said. So that's going to be pretty exciting.
It is.
I mean, it's going to keep you guys on your toes, but it's going to be well worth it. So I do want to shift gears again, because you mentioned you mentioned in the email prior to us settling on a date for doing this episode, you mentioned you guys are doing what was it, a 24-hour festival?
Yeah.
So can you talk about that?
Yeah. So So yeah, we're really excited. It's our first ever 24-hour play festival, and it's kind of a unique thing that you'll see theaters do from time to time.
Mhm.
Of course, once again, like anything else, we're putting the PMP stamp on it.
Yep.
So essentially, the way one of these works is basically a play is written, auditioned, staged, performed, all within a 24-hour period.
And are these original or these
They're all
adaptations?
original. They're
Okay.
original. So what happens is, what we're going to do is on Friday night, April the 4th, we're all going to meet at High Branch Brewery in Concord, Gibson Mill. Everyone's invited to hang out, have a beer with PMP. But the main purpose of that is our 6 playwrights are going to be given their writing prompts for the festival. So they won't know until 7 or 8 o'clock on Friday what they're even writing about.
Oh, okay. So they have. Okay, so these haven't been pre-written yet. Like you guys are going to tell them what they got to write, and then
Okay. And so what we're going to do is we're focusing on North Carolina kind of ghost stories, or local or regional ghost stories. I don't know if we may dip into South Carolina. So I'm not quite sure. We don't have the list totally finalized yet.
Yeah.
But they'll each get a ghost story, and I think we're going to kind of do it like a white elephant style. Someone, whoever draws the first one, whoever draws, they can have a chance to steal somebody else's, or it's by the end we're going to be settled with the ghost story.
I mean, that's a play in itself right there, Chris.
It is. And then essentially the playwrights go home, and overnight they write a 10-minute play based on their prompt.
Okay.
And so then they deliver their scripts in the morning, and then we have 6 directors who will be then assigned one of the 6 plays. Mm-hmm. And then we have actors who've signed up, and the actors are cast in those plays. They rehearse all day, and then that night, they're performed for the general public. So it's a really exciting thing. It's especially really fun for all those who are like participating in it because of just it's new works, it's ghost stories, it's just that fun to bring up doing something new. But we hope it's something fun for the audience to see too, because once again you'll get to go and hear these these local ghost stories. And so be a really cheap. The ticket price will be cheap. We'll probably charge around $10, I think, for admission. The goal, because the goal at the end is we got to pay for all these productions coming up. So it's the end of the day for PMP, it helps get us a little bit of cash that we can put towards the Crucible, so we can make that production as great as we can make it. But it should be a real fun event. So we have that, and then we have one other event between now in the Crucible as well, and that is our 2nd annual halfway to Halloween masquerade ball and gala.
I forgot about that.
And so that's, I think the date is, it's going to be on May 17th. It's a Saturday, out at Southern Grace Distillery out in Mount Pleasant. So it's, for those who don't know, it's in a century-old former prison that is purportedly haunted. It's been on a lot of your ghost hunter type shows. They've been out there and done investigations there. So it's a perfect spot for PMP to go. And it was really, really, really fun and really successful last year. Everyone came out in their costumes. We have everyone, you get there, you get to walk what we call the dread carpet.
I'm assuming it's red, right?
It's multiple colors. It's sort of like it's a sight to behold.
Okay.
So
it's one of those things where you have to be there to get it, right?
Yeah, you walk the red carpet to our to the big PMP sign and get your picture taken. To be a catered dinner. We'll have probably music performance during the dinner. Then we'll all go to the chapel for a program where we'll give out some fun awards. Because you only have 3 shows a year. I don't do a whole lot of like big time acting awards, but we'll do some we do some kind of tongue in cheek type things like best monster or favorite kill or whatever we come up with for these seasons. And then I'll give a few special awards. The one serious part of the night, we'll give some special awards for our kind of like almost like it's like PMP Person of the Year and a kind of a PMP behind the scenes award. So and I've named both of those. Those awards were named after sort of the kind of some of the luminaries from the French Parisian Grand Guignol Theater. So.
Right.
Yeah.
So I do want to go back to the 24-hour play festival because because I've heard of 24-hour film festivals, in the film industry, but is this something that's that's unique to you guys, or because I know you mentioned that it's been done before, but has it ever been done in the Carolinas?
It has, yeah. As a matter of fact, I think there's another one going on a few weeks after ours in Charlotte.
Okay.
So I mean, I don't know who all does them. I mean, I will say it's another one of these things that it works for a lot of college groups and a lot of, or high school groups, because they can do them it's almost like a lock-in. You do this when you're a kid. So they'll sometimes do those. But since Old Courthouse Theater does it, they do a straight 10-minute play festival where, playwrights submit pre-written 10-minute plays,
right,
or plays they've written on the theme, but it's not written overnight, and they'll do that. And so we didn't want to duplicate, because they're such a good partner with us, we didn't want to duplicate the same thing they were doing. So I had it's actually the director who directed our production of The Innocents the other year, Kim Saunders.
right.
She approached me with the idea of really wanting to lead a 24-hour play festival, and so I kind of put her in charge of that for us. And so she's managing most of the details of it. Because we wanted something a little bit different, and instead we didn't want to overlap. And this is a really cool thing because it's creating new little horror plays. And we'll see how they turn out, and maybe they have future life. I don't know. I mean, I never can have too few ghost stories on hand. So
in terms of production, like where are you guys right now? Like, are you guys just still brainstorming the idea, or have you already found the playwrights you want to work with? Like, where are you in the process?
So it was so basically it was just an online submission. We posted it, and everyone could they filled out a form, and they clicked the box if they wanted to be a playwright, if they wanted to be a director, or if they wanted to be an actor, or they could choose more than one. And then they kind of essentially had to list their bio or list their credits or what they've done in each of those categories. And then she went from there. And the 6 playwrights, they're all, a lot of them are ones you'll see their names, it'll pop up when you see 10-minute play festivals around, whether it's the 10-minute play festival at OCT, or it's the Booze and Brews festival up at Davidson, or if it's the teacher penned play festival. I mean, you'll see a lot of these similar names. So we've got some really talented writers. And then we have, then same thing, we have some really talented directors. And for the directors, it's really good because it gives me a chance to kind of see people who I haven't worked with before. It's sort of like their trial for maybe at some point being giving a full PMP production down the line.
Right, it's like an audition almost.
So this is a good chance. So especially so when looking at that list, if there's people on there who are sort of on the interest list or the wish list, you're definitely wanting to see what they can do. It's sort of like as I said, in a way like an audition.
So I'm assuming you guys have already found your writers then, and
we do. Everything's picked. That was all sent out. I think like March 7th was the deadline to sign up, and then sometime the next week, they were all notified, and we had alternates in case any of them said no, but I think they all said yes.
Okay.
We saw all of our playwrights said yes. I think we may have had to do a little bit of flipping, switching around with some directors, but they're all lined up. Our actors, we have our core of actors. We don't necessarily know 100% how that's going to turn out until the plays are written and we see. And so as the actors are aware, we may need you, we may not need you, depending on depending on what the plays call for.
Right.
And depending on what they call for. But the hope is we'll give the playwrights here are the actors with headshots and things, so that maybe they can sort of start writing with some people in mind and things like that, so that we're not having to call people because you realize, oh wait, all of our playwrights wrote shows that are nothing but men, and so now we got to call and find some people.
Right.
Hopefully they'll be they'll make sure that they kind of look at what we have available and write to the talent, but we'll kind of see how that goes.
Now, the big question for me is, it's called the 24-hour Place Festival. So, is it 24 hours from writing a play to producing it, or are you guys performing for 24 hours?
No, it's essentially from idea to performance is a 24-hour span.
Okay.
So I think we're meeting at the brewery at 7, and then I think the performances begin the next night at 7:30. I think.
So are these performances all taking place in one night, or are they going to?
It's all in one night because they're basically be six. It'll basically be 6 10-minute plays. Okay. So it'll film so we'll do like 3 shows and intermission, 3 more shows, or something like that. Depending, they may not quite be, they could run a little bit more than 10 minutes each. I don't know. But the thought is the whole event may be like a little over 90 minutes. You'll see six short plays. We're going to hold it in the black box at OCT.
Mm-hmm. So yeah. I mean, it sounds really exciting because this is the first time you guys are doing something like this. Do you think this might be something you guys might continue? If it's successful, or
it is. It's a hope maybe of making it an annual event. We need to do a little bit of ways to generate a little bit of income outside of just our plays.
Right.
Because obviously, ticket sales is not enough to keep you going, or it's not enough to allow you to take the kind of risks we want to take. So sometimes you need a little reserve money in case you do one of these shows that's not, maybe it's a little bit of show that may not resonate with the populace because but it's important to do those kinds of shows. Everything can't be, the Crucible, So,
right.
So, yeah.
Now, what about co-productions? Because I think I think we spoke about this in previous episodes. Have there been any plans to work with different theater companies for co-producing, like a Christmas Spirits production or something big like Frankenstein or Dracula next year?
So so far as far as big productions, it's still kind of be us. Technically all of ours are technically a co-production because we work with Old Courthouse Theater.
Yeah, it's true.
We use their space. We have a good partnership with them. So technically they're a part of every production we do. I'm not ready to announce things yet, but we have had some discussions about doing a couple special things, not, special kind of one-off events with a couple other companies, kind of maybe in the fall. And as soon as everything's been signed on the dotted line and we know what it's going to be, then we'll announce it. But we do have some exciting things coming, and one of them could be PMP's kind of return to doing a show in Charlotte, which is exciting. So.
Oh, that's going to be exciting, and I really love the fact that PMP is very much like the sort of gothic, theater company that's very much trying out new things. You guys are doing the 24-hour play festival, which I didn't think was a thing, because I thought that's just pretty exhausting. I thought a 24-hour film festival's difficult as it is, but you guys are just like taking it to the max there. Do you think this is a good way to kind of promote and scout for new writing talent in the area? Because I'm sure there's a lot of like young writers out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Because one of the cores, when I founded PMP, was to create new stuff. I can't sustain a horror theater just on existing horror works because there's just not that many of them.
Right.
Or it's, and I don't want to get in where like Death Takes a Holiday was a beautiful, amazing production, but it's still what I would call kind of horror adjacent. And so so I would like to even the Crucible is kind of horror adjacent,
right?
But Death Takes a Holiday, the connection is the main character is death. The Crucible is tied to witchcraft, and but I would like to create some more original stuff. Obviously, like our Christmas Spirits, definitely creating some original ghost story works that can be performed. And once again, this is a good chance to see some of the writing skills of people around. I also have a whole bunch of show ideas, here in my head, that I would love to kind of get written on paper, So some of this is finding a playwright who kind of matches the play idea and going with that. So there's we have plans of doing a little more like horror education things. one of our kind of core members of the company is going to teach two Grand Guignol summer camps this year. One at DCP and one at OCT. So so we're excited about that as well. So yeah, I mean, we're growing.
Well, I'm really excited for you guys, Chris, because I really dig what you guys are doing, and I'm really excited. And I just want to thank you for taking time out of your day. I know you've got I know you have a very busy schedule this spring, and I just want to thank you for taking time to be on the show.
My pleasure, anytime.
And I just want to thank everybody for taking time to watch this episode, and remember to leave a like and a comment, and let us know how we're doing. And as always, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you on the flip side.